It's the Baylor preview, plus an interview with Deputy Athletic Director Ryan Peck right now on Frogs Insider. Hey, Frog fans, welcome into another episode of Frogs Insider. Jamie Plunkett here. Melissa Treebosser will be along shortly. She sits down this week with the hosts of Between Two Bears, the Baylor podcast on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Republic of Football Network. Matt and Evan joined the show, give us a great preview of what to expect when the Frogs travel down to Waco this weekend to take on the Bears in the Revivalry. Let's just get that right out there. It's the Revivalry, not anything else. Plus, a couple other news and notes from around the TCU Athletics Department, and I sit down with Ryan Peck. He's the Deputy Athletics Director for External Affairs and Revenue Generation. He is Jeremiah Donati's right-hand man. We have a nice conversation about his background and the TCU advantage in this next kind of era of college athletics and what TCU is doing behind the scenes to prepare for revenue sharing, the scholarship increases, all that good stuff. Really great conversation with Ryan. So I hope you'll stick around for that. But before we get into all of the content that you came here for, a little podcast business is in order. We are the Frogs Insider podcast presented by the Flying T Club. The Flying T Club is TCU's NIL collective. They are the only NIL collective for TCU, and they sponsor over 110 student athletes. They also partner with a couple of organizations in and around the city of Fort Worth, doing things that make the city and the communities in our great city much, much better. Really cool organization. I would encourage you to go to flyingtclub.com to see all of the different ways that you can get involved, whether that's through an individual gift or a corporate partnership, or if you want to volunteer with some of the organizations that the Flying T Club is partnering with. Just know that now, if you give a gift to the Flying T Club, it counts as priority points for you. So just like if you're giving to the Frog Club or the athletics department in any other way, a donation to the Flying T Club now gets you priority points, which you can use to get seat upgrades in Amon G. Carter or Schulmeyer or Lupton or wherever else you want to watch TCU athletics happen. So flyingtclub.com is where you can start that journey. Go there today and check out the Flying T Club. We're also part of the Republic of Football Network over at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Big shout out to that crew. You're going to hear from another podcast in the network in just a few moments. Like I already teased, the Between Two Bears guys are going to be on with Melissa previewing the TCU and Baylor game. But the Republic of Football Network is more than just TCU and Baylor content. It's content for every D1 football program in the state of Texas, all in one feed. All you've got to do is search Republic of Football Network, check that out, and leave us a rating and a review. If that's too much, if you only want the TCU content, we've got that for you as well. Just go to Frogs Insider, wherever you get your podcasts, hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, and you'll have all of that good, sweet TCU content right in your ears twice a week. You can also go to the YouTube channel. Here's the thing, folks. You're probably listening to this on October 31st. And if you are, as of the time of this recording, we are 16 subscribers away from 1,000. If you can get us to the 1,000 mark by Halloween, Melissa will be eating the Salt Chip Challenge. Gross. It's my pick for her, and she's going to be picking something for me. She's going to be putting that on a poll on Twitter, but you've got to get over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and beyond just us doing silly challenges, as a genuine thank you for getting us to this 1,000 subscriber mark, I will give you a little preview of a project that I've been working on for quite some time now that I think you'll really enjoy, related to TCU sports history. So we'll just leave it at that. Get us to 1,000, and I'll drop that preview on the YouTube channel and on socials probably on Friday. We'll give it through Thursday the 31st to see if we can get to the 1,000 subscriber mark, and then I'll drop that little sweet preview on Friday morning. I think that's all of the podcast business that we've got. A few news and notes from around the athletics department before we get into the TCU Baylor preview. First and foremost, TCU women's basketball player Haley Van Lith. You probably know her. If you don't, Google is free. She is Naismith Player of the Year watch list player this year. She's one of 50 players named to this list. She is the third Horned Frog ever to be named to the Naismith Awards watch list, which is given to the most outstanding women's basketball player every single season. Third Horned Frog ever to be put on this list. She's the first frog in 14 seasons to be named to this list. So that's a pretty cool recognition for Haley Van Lith. Plus, TCU soccer, as they wrapped up their Big 12 regular season championship, the awards are starting to roll in. Oli Pena has been named Big 12 Midfielder of the Year, an incredible award for her. Eric Bell has been named Big 12 Coach of the Year. It's the third time he's received that award, and various other awards as well for the team. Pretty cool as they get their Big 12 tournament underway on Saturday at 2 o'clock. They're facing Colorado. That game is on Saturday. Colorado beat Utah in the first round to earn the right to play TCU, who had a bye as the 1 seed in the Big 12 tournament. So that's pretty cool that the Horned Frogs are the 1 seed. They have a bye, and now they know their opponent. They're going to be playing the Colorado Buffs out there in Austin, Texas. So pretty cool stuff happening around the athletics department. Volleyball's got a game on Wednesday night. I am recording this before that, so I won't have the results in front of me. You can go to gofrogs.com and check out the results of that game. They're playing Colorado as well, ironically enough. But let's go ahead and jump in to the meat of the episode. Melissa sat down with Matt and Evan, the hosts of Between Two Bears, the Baylor podcast on the Republic of Football Network, to preview TCU and Baylor happening at 7 o'clock this Saturday down in Waco. Let's jump into that preview right now.
I'm doing something a little dangerous tonight. I have to say, I have to give credit. 2 of the people that made me hate Baylor just a little bit less, and at least look at rivalry week with a lot less bitterness and anger. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I don't like when my rivals redeem themselves, but here we are. And I am joined by the cast of Between Two Bears, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, Republic of Football Network most unhinged show, Matt Wilson and Evan A. Bear.
There we go.
Don't want to throw the extra R in there. Are here with me, both for the first time. This is the first time all 3 of us have done this together here on the TCU side. So very exciting, very nerve-wracking. Fellas, how are you doing tonight?
Way better than I was.
I should have worn an undershirt and written something like Between Two Bears.
Yeah, B2B 2024.
Yeah. Exactly.
That would have been the move. I was maybe thinking, I don't know if that black shirt says CAB on it or not.
All right.
Ask your OC. He's got
listener, it is a
spares.
plain black T-shirt, okay?
Inside out. Listen, I'm more interested as far as over-unders, and the over-under of CAB shirts in the stand is Baylor honors its 2014 team that beat TCU but lost a bowl game.
Oh my God.
Or the score of the game.
That.
Yeah. So I want to know how many 6158 towels we're going to see, how many CAB, and then like we mentioned before, what are Kaz and Kendall and the spirit of Carlton Buckles going to cross the sideline to be honored at halftime along with the 2014 team, or will they be prepping for a second half? I think that's really the important question here that we're asking tonight.
Pooping and throwing up. That is what I feel like doing right now.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. Can we be done with 6158? Can we acknowledge?
Absolutely.
Nope.
Yeah, you're right. Nah.
Can't do
that.
It's fun to remember from the Baylor perspective, but come on.
10 years.
Yeah, it's been 10 years. I think this should be the end of all official recount. Maybe at 20 years we can do a tweet about it, or whatever we're doing in 10.
Whatever we're doing in 20 years. Yeah, it's a drone show for every individual.
I'm not so sure, Matt.
Yeah, I know. Evan.
I was still in college when that happened.
Yeah, Evan's young.
As you know, I'm the youngest person alive. So
yeah, that's true.
How long has it been really?
Not
you gotta ask yourself. Yeah. Quick question. How spicy are my jokes allowed to be on this pod? Because I have one I'd like to share if it's appropriate. I don't know.
We're on the same network.
Yeah, you've kind of.
I know this may need to be this may need to be cut or bleeped. I was just thinking when they get all the players on the field for the photo, Kendall will probably be invited. He may be looking the other way. He may be looking somewhere off in the crowd. I don't know if he'll be fully locked in and fully present with the team in ways that you would expect for a group picture.
At least for the first
full
half.
Transparency.
The second half, you might.
Please bleep that out if that's not cool or welcome here. I don't know. It was there. You threw it down the middle for me. I'm so sorry.
So much editing work for her.
Yeah, it's for Jamie. Jamie gets to do this.
I know.
So,
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Oh.
Jamie, just if you need to redact the last 60 seconds, it's totally fine. There is, I think if you had looked at this game 3 weeks ago, this preview would have gone a lot differently. I think both fan bases were incredibly down on their programs. And maybe there's just something magical about kicking Tech's, to make you feel a little bit better, right?
It feels great.
It feels great. Whether you do it and just by embarrassing them on their home field on their homecoming, or you squeak by in what was an otherwise embarrassing game by forcing a fumble, on their final drive. Either one is fine. It's acceptable. We'll take it. But I do feel that beating Tech really did change the trajectory of both of these programs in the second half. And so my first question for you guys is, has Dave Aranda saved his job, or is he at least off the hot seat for the moment?
If the team plays the way they have during the second half of BYU, the first half of Iowa State, and then the entirety of the last two games, this team will likely win 2 or 3 out of the next 4. And yeah, by that, absolutely at that point. All he needs is 2 more wins to make a bowl, and I believe that's been set as the unofficial rumor mill / official rumor mill watermark to reach. Bowl game or bust. I personally see it happening, so yeah, I think so, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, earned
that
it.
Would be
perhaps.
my follow up, Evan. Yeah, do you feel like with the GJ Kinney rumors, all of the other things that kind of seems like a foregone conclusion, would you rather keep Dave Aranda and see him kind of run it back next year?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a new feeling for me though. I think I'm still
processing.
I'm still
this
warming
real
up.
Time. We didn't
I'm
even
warming up to
this
that idea.
100%.
But yeah, I don't know. I think this year he really had to earn it, and we are unfathomably close to 5-3 right now. To 2 of those 3 losses being to undefeated teams, like that's good stuff. I feel way better than I did 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, relatable. TCU,
Yeah.
I mean, we like that UCF choking away that game and losing to Houston at home is just inexcusable. And now all of a sudden, TCU could be looking up at having 1 loss or 2 losses at this point too.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, but then you also like that you've seen your team kind of turn the corner. Is it true that Dave Aranda has taken over defensive play calling duties here, and that lines up with some of the improved success? How important is that defensive mind having more control in what's actually happening on the field?
It looks like we're a connected unit again. Last season, the talent was basically the same with the exception of 2 players, Linton and our nose tackle, who I'm forgetting, who has played well. Linton has been impactful. Not trying to negate their impact. No, Cooper Lance was always there, but but the units, the run fits, way better. There's occasionally a bust, but the safeties, who Pallage is hands-on with, they look more in sync with everybody else. It's just a cascading effect. There's been way more QB pressure. It just seems like this unit, while flawed, is just that, a unit again, finally. And they got some impactful playmakers in there too. So, and I think it feels different.
Yeah, and I think there is something to be said about he's the only head coach who is also a defensive or offensive coordinator this year, and I think it by nature it requires a lot more power sharing for that the game day head coaching decisions, and I think a lot of schools might benefit from that sort of structure around head coaching choices on game day rather than trusting one person with an ego or with a play calling style. Like Joey and Matt Rule, their whole thing is go forward on 4th all the time. And Joey, I don't think that has worked out for him as well this year as maybe he had hoped. So having more voices in that room perhaps could help. So I wonder if you see this strategy maybe poke its head out in other places around the country.
Are you just making a directed attack at TCU's OC? Because I feel like you might be. I feel like you might be just calling.
No, honestly, that one.
Not that you would. But,
not even close to my head. That one was not where I was at that time.
Just Sonny and KB have been standing a lot closer to each other on the sideline. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I think too, it's gonna be interesting because it does seem like you mentioned the run fits. Baylor's run defense is definitely getting better. You can say the same about TCU, but TCU's run game has been really bad. Outside of now the Savion cat.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, so we got
to have a better name for that.
Yeah, I haven't
Sav
really.
Cat, the Sav Cat.
Yeah, Sav Cat. Okay.
Save Cat. I don't know. There's something there.
Okay, we're gonna workshop this throughout the episode. Something's gonna come to us. And I don't know that using a guy that you thought maybe was a first or second round pick at wide receiver as like your Derrick Henry running back is a good or a bad thing. It's a thing that's working in this moment. But Dave Aranda is definitely the best defensive minded coach that TCU has played so far this year. I think he definitely has him and then Utah. Like those are the two. Baylor and Utah are probably the two best defensive strategists.
Not Ted Roof.
R.I.P.
Not
Ted.
anymore.
Yeah,
that was mean. I didn't mean to be that mean, especially.
No, you can. I'm really mad about losing to UCF the way that we did. So you can throw Ted Roof under the bus. I'm fine. And UCF was my dark horse pick to make the Big 12 championship, and it looked really strong a month ago. Those
Same. I was a KJ Jefferson believer. Yeah,
I wasn't, but I was very much this is a down year in the Big 12. This team has an excellent running game. I think they can do enough to win a lot of games. And no, it turns out that TCU was not really good at all in September, and we made them look great. But,
what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? All that to say is Baylor's defensive run-stopping ability is improving, and TCU is starting to garner something in the run game. Do you see Savion Williams in the backfield as a problem, or do you think that Aranda's going to be able to kind of slow that down and make TCU actually use a running back in the backfield?
We talked a lot about Ollie Gordon today. 13, 14 carries for 70-something yards. Banged up Ollie Gordon. Okay.
Whatever's happened to Ollie Gordon this year, but still, he's Ollie Gordon.
I mean, some of the other backs that Baylor has played, that they're pretty talented. I'm trying to find the schedule again real quick, but
I mean, you played Utah, Mekhi Bernard. I'm not sure what kind of game he had.
He played well. Like Colorado ran the ball
ran for a billion.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Iowa State ran for a billion. The smaller, quicker backs have been impacted. Like Taj Brooks, very patient, good running back. Only had one really impact play.
Yeah.
But some of these smaller, shiftier backs, Baylor has an issue with. So you want to line up Savion Williams 20 times? That would be not my favorite thing in the world, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's TCU still looking for a true running back that can be impactful in the run game. Cam Cook, kind of was the presumed starter. He only got one carry on Saturday. Trent Battle's gotten back healthy. He's probably the one that I would assume Baylor would have trouble with, but he came back to earth a little bit against Tech. And then Jeremy Payne is a true freshman who might be the most complete back on the field today, but is not getting a ton of opportunities. So it'll be interesting to see what Dave Aranda does if he wants to put the game on Josh Hoover's shoulders, who's obviously a very incredibly talented passer, but also has been very turnover prone. It seems like Baylor's defense has been decent against the pass, but this is probably the game they're going to see the most pass-first offense that they've faced so far this year. How are they enforcing turnovers? Will they be able to take advantage of some sloppy play by Josh Hoover, or do you think that Hoover can have another big game against the Bears in Waco?
This is my big fear, is your passing offense. We have been sliced up by the good quarterbacks of this league, right? Shedeur Sanders put a first-round highlight tape on us.
Yeah, God, he did. That game was... Watching you lose that game that way was the only thing that made me feel a little bit better about losing to SMU when we lost. Jamie and I were at the bar drinking beers and just going, this sucks for them. And so I'm glad that we're suffering together.
I mean, there were more than one plays where we got two hands on him and they scored at the end of the play. Yeah. I mean, it was insane what he was able to do. So I don't know if Josh Hoover can do exactly that set of asks,
Not that. He's not Shedeur Sanders, yeah.
But, we also got really sliced up this weekend too. Alan Bowman only had one touchdown, but I mean, he threw for 360 yards on us. So
yeah.
That is the part of our defense I am most worried about, and I feel like you probably have the best set of receivers, maybe outside of Iowa State, that will play probably better than them actually.
Colorado was a little banged up, right? When you guys played, Colorado's probably it's obviously the better passing offense, but it wasn't. I don't think they were whole and the offensive line was still just coming together for them. So it'll be fascinating. I think Jack Besh is a real matchup problem for Baylor. They've actually used the tight ends, and there is a guy you guys are really familiar with playing tight end for TCU, and Drake Dabney.
I'm still mad.
Yeah,
I'm still mad about that.
Yeah,
I forget which game he caught the touchdown in, but it was one of the few times I've tuned into TCU this season. I really tried to tune into TCU Utah. I couldn't.
It was a hard watch. I was there. That was a hard watch. Yeah,
I tried. 9
straight punts by
caught
TCU.
Dabney caught a touchdown. And it was just like, oh my! He was one of my favorite. I always pick weird players to be like the fan of, and Dabney was that. That was my guy. I was expecting a breakout season for him this season, and not so much. At least not in a Baylor uniform. But the tight end, the tight end position hasn't killed us this season. I mean, Iowa State's tight ends always make a play or two.
Yeah.
But it's really just straight up passing downs in general. If Baylor stays ahead of the sticks from a defensive perspective, they're okay. But on passing downs, just straight up passing downs, explosive plays, success rate, it's all not as good.
It is really bad when a quarterback has at least when they get that third second of time to think, we're cooked. I mean, we're fully cooked.
Well, that'll be what's interesting because the offensive line for TCU played better against Tech, but there still has not been a super strong unit. JB shared on our podcast that Carson Bruno, the right guard, his PFF grade was 19.7. Not on a 20-point scale, unfortunately. So there are still some holes. There's some places to attack. And I would imagine that Dave Randa's well aware of that. It'll be fascinating to see if they're able to make Josh Hoover uncomfortable because he has shown when he's uncomfortable, he is apt to not always make the best decisions. And that's why I think he's thrown 9 or 10 interceptions this season, which is terrifying out of just 7 games or whatever it's been. Let's flip it over to the other side of the ball. It seems like Sawyer Robertson is starting to get comfortable. Still has not the most pure passer you're going to see, but he's a playmaker, and he is obviously starting to feel himself a little bit for Baylor.
Saw Dog. We got a name for him. Saw Con Robertson, right, Matt?
No, ignore him.
I do. I'm gonna mute him manually. Just let him hang out in the corner
football
there.
Account has been calling him Saw Dog, and I think I'm in.
Okay.
I think I'm in on it. It's taken a little bit. Like I was being sarcastic with it the first week that I saw it. I think I'm in on it now. He is the biggest surprise of this team by far. We saw like flashes of what he could be, maybe he's 2 years away from being 2 years away, the famous NBA draft thing. But this year he comes in, DeQuan Finn is completely rattled in that Utah game, and Robertson comes in and looks serviceable. And then he plays really well versus Air Force. And then he plays even better against BYU after a bad start. But he's gotten better and better every week. That Texas Tech game, 5 touchdowns on 32 throws, and he had 3 touchdowns on 20 throws this weekend.
He ran one in.
Exactly. Like he adds an incredible element with his legs that a lot of people knew that he was mobile, but he has some breakaway. I believe my tweet was "@boy can scoot" because he can scoot. Like his straight line speed is pretty good.
He doesn't give a scoot.
Oh boy!
I am most impressed by how calm he is. First drive, Oklahoma State, hand the ball off. Second play, he looked like Cam. Like the first thing that popped into my head when he made a throw across the middle to Josh Cameron was he looks like Cam Ward level of calm back there. Maybe you should care like a little bit more level of calm, but he carried that through the entire game. He threw a really bad pick in the end zone on Saturday, came back, shook it off immediately, led us on a scoring drive. Like he feels like he has it. which we thought that was DeQuan Finn, but apparently not.
Yeah. I'm sold on him too, Matt. I think he's our best quarterback since Seth Russell. And I think
that's a lot.
I feel very confident.
Maybe.
Hey,
well, there hasn't been a lot. There hasn't been a lot between there. Like, I don't know that that's a completely
historically
outrageous...
bad quarterback room management by our staff these last 4 or 5 years. So, they gave someone else the job twice. Maybe they learned their lesson with this guy.
Well, we can, again, relatable.
Yeah.
They tried to sit Max Duggan only for him to finish as the Heisman runner-up, and then tried the Chandler Morris thing again only for Josh Hoover to immediately look like the much better quarterback. Question, though, this is important. Doesn't Sawyer Robertson look like the kind of guy who would give himself the nickname Saw Dog?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
God.
And I think it's likely that he did this time also. I think it's not impossible.
I'm fairly confident that he went up to the social media team and was like, "Yo, it's Saw Dog, my guy." Like 100%. I'm really glad we're in agreement on that.
I had not considered that. I had not considered that before. It was staring me in the face this whole time.
Yeah, it's who was the guy, and I think he's in the pros. I cannot remember his name, but that like had the lifted truck and like took like he played for Denver. Man, what was his name?
Jarrett Stidham.
Yes, yeah, he gives like off-brand
actually good Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, like maybe Jarrett Stidham is off-brand Saw Dog. Like that's definitely
off-brand
possible.
Saw Dog. There's something.
I'm a Jarrett Stidham truther, gang. I have to speak my truth. I thought he was so good.
Yeah, look,
I thought he beat Alabama at Auburn. That's all I'm saying.
Professional quarterback.
Making more money than I did this week. That's for sure. Who is Saw Dog targeting here? Monterey Baldwin is still a thing. Doesn't seem to be as engaged, active in the offense this year, but probably the guy that still scares me the most, because if there's one thing you could do against TCU, it's run away from their secondary. Although we saw some improvement, but he scares me quite a bit. Looking at the stats here, Josh Cameron is your leading receiver, but you've the guys with the breakaway speed, to no surprise, are Hal Presley and Keytron Jackson are the guys that are kind of the big play guys. But Josh Cameron's your red zone threat, the guy that leads the team in touchdowns. How do you see them matching up against a secondary that has shown a propensity for giving up big plays, but that has gotten some better safety play here in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, good question. I think if we get the Sawyer of the last 2 weeks, I would wake up feeling very comfortable on Saturday. But he still doesn't have that many game reps, so it's really hard to say if it's just been a good month of October or if there's like something really cooking here. Matt, we haven't talked about this, but my favorite receiver on our team, I guess he's a tight end, is Michael Trigg. I think he hasn't really found his ceiling quite yet, but I have so much faith when he has the ball in his hands or when we're targeting him. He makes a couple of very, very silly plays every game, but like a true NFL red zone threat if he does scratch like the ceiling of how good I think he is. And he knows Plies personally. So that's been
apparently
for us.
Plies. If for some reason
Plies, come on the pod.
If for some reason you listen to Frogs Insider instead of Between Two Bears, Plies, please come on Between Two Bears.
Yeah.
Please. We got to talk about Michael Trigg.
We did have 2 Chains at TCU last week for Schulmeyer Live. Which
really?
was pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's cool. What kicked off basketball season for us.
It's a vibe.
Dang.
It's a vibe.
You think we'll get David Crowder, Matt? You think we got David Crowder kicking off the season for us?
Or the kid singing
if he's not busy.
The new song, yeah.
The new song.
Yeah, you'll have to go look it up. There's a new Baylor commercial.
Sounds like the others. Still good.
It's not the worst. Not the worst.
Okay.
I listen to him personally in my personal music collection. I listen to him very much. I'm a huge fan. If that means anything.
Tell me the name again.
Yeah, what's his name?
His Forrest Frank. That's his government name. His older. It is. His older brother was my welcome week leader. Can you believe that, Matt? His older brother and his now sister-in-law were my welcome week leaders.
Your whole life is a Waco Spider-Verse.
Forrest almost subleased from me once when I moved to Austin. I mean, we were in real talks.
How do you have stories like this every single time?
You know how small Waco is? You do know how small Waco is.
I do.
There
I feel like Jake Spavital and I are different in a lot of ways, but
a couple. I could think
in
of two or
one
three.
way we're very similar is we see, whether in real life or like in college football 25, we have a weapon on our offense and we're like, oh my God, oh shit, we got to use this. We got to figure out how to get that. And it felt like for the first 4 or 5 weeks, he was trying to force the ball to Monterey Baldwin. And it felt forced. Now, maybe it's only 2 or 3 touches a game, but it's coming in in the flow of the offense. And now that there's a real passing threat, the running lanes are opened up. It just feels like this offense is a lot more balanced, and so you are able to take more comfortable shots to the sideline to a Hal Presley, who is maybe the most underrated receiver on this team. You get to take a 33-yard shot to Ashton Hawkins and let him go make a play like he did on Saturday, making You Got Mossed at number 2, I think.
Number 2.
It was really nice to see Michael Trigg get an early target. Like, there are weapons out there. It's just a matter of, can Spav maintain balance and not start pressing and feeling forced to hit certain buttons in this offense. So,
well, and I think the defense coming along is a huge piece of that, right? We're not giving up 21 points in the first 6 minutes of the game as much as we used to. So the playbook stays a little more wide open for a little bit longer.
Well, and I imagine you'll be able to establish the run game a bit on Saturday as well. TCU's run defense has definitely improved, and I was happy with the way they corralled Taj Brooks. Still had a big game, 120 yards, but he needed 30 carries to do it and had a long of 12. And so they've definitely improved. They did a great job against Mekhi Bernard. But I think where Baylor is a little bit different is you're not going to see that one kind of bell cow running back, because they're going to throw a bunch of different types of guys at you, which I think could be challenging for a defensive front. What are kind of the strengths of each of these running backs? I mean, it's pretty balanced. Bryson Washington has 70 attempts. Dawson Pendergrass has 56. Sawyer himself, Sawdog, has 39. Richard Reese, Richard Reese is still on this team. Like, how old is this guy? He's got 49. And then former, TCU commit Dominic Richardson, also a little bit of a problem there with 31 carries. The first 3 guys are all averaging, almost 4.5 or above. So definitely some firepower.
That's actually news to me.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, we got before the season started. That was something me and Matt talked about. I mean, we got a room full of dogs. We got a kennel. We're operating a kennel in North Waco. Room full of dogs.
I'm out on the whole Saw Dog thing now. You guys, this is both of you have completely ruined it for me.
All right.
Well, I was hoping to. So. I think Evan's being very authentic in this moment, and that's fine. We're happy for him. Yeah.
All I can do is tell you the truth, Matt. You know that.
Do you have a defensive line that wants to arm tackle, right? If you have a defensive line that only wants to arm tackle, Dawson Pendergrass is going to be your guy. Do you have a defensive line or a linebacking crew that just kind of plays straight up, but isn't really going to make dynamic plays every single time? That's going to be Bryson Washington.
I'm sorry, I got super distracted because cute puppy just poked in the frame.
That's my boy Albie back there. He's a big idiot.
Albie?
He's lucky he's brave.
Hey, Albie. Yeah, he is.
If you just need your best overall back, that's going to be Bryson Washington. If you have a defense on the other side that's tired and you need a little bit more speed, Richard Reese is going to be your guy. Dominic Richardson has either been banged up or I don't know, but he hasn't played that much over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But he hasn't really been missed.
With the other guys you've got, I'm not.
Yeah, I think we assumed we may need him more, and I think Matt called it before the year started. Matt really was a big Dawson Pendergrass believer before the season got going, and he's been proven right. I mean, he has been. We talked about it today. We haven't had like a true Marshawn Lynch threat back there since I can remember, and I feel a little bit of that whenever he's moving. He had his touchdown this week. He ran through and like around people all the way there. I mean, it was crazy.
6.5 yards per carry on 56 total attempts. Just 2 touchdowns, but a long of 55. Bryson Washington, 5.4 yards per carry on 70 attempts, 3 touchdowns. And then the aforementioned Richard Reese, 4.4 yards per carry on 49 attempts. So a lot of balance. And like you said, like a lot of different ways to attack. A defensive front for TCU that I was really down on here a couple weeks ago, but has really showed me something. The thing that you'll notice when you watch TCU is the first guy is not often bringing the back down, but what's happening is they are all swarming to the ball the way we did not see through the first half of the season. And I think that's going to be super important against Baylor on Saturday, is that kind of gang tackling mentality, because like you said, each of those guys can do a different thing and attack a defense a different way. So it's going to take, 4 or 5 or 6 guys run into the ball to make something happen and to stop Baylor from getting too comfortable on the ground and opening things up for Robertson over the top. One thing I did notice with Baylor's offense, though, and this might be where you're seeing trends start to change, the red zone has been a problem. The red zone efficiency has been an issue. TCU struggled with a lot of the same things as well. What do you think is holding Baylor's offense back in the red zone, or are you starting to see that trend change here over the last couple of weeks?
Executive functioning. I think we just get to the red zone and we're like, oh, now we're supposed to score, and you just have that natural rejection of like authority and being told what to do. I think if we score from 40 yards out, everybody's happy.
Hey, that's fine by me.
It's mostly been, I think, a mixture of trying to figure out what plays to call, not really understanding how this roster is adjusting to the new offense. They've thrown in some interesting wide zone schemes just in the run game in general. There was a really cool play call this week. It was a QB power fake. The backup, I think the third string tight end leaks out just for a little pass in the flat, wide open for a touchdown. If we're starting to get comfortable like that, I think we'll see the red zone issues be mitigated a little bit. But this isn't going to be a team that is going to get a massive offensive line push. Everybody goes and pushes for a yard and allows us to score. I just don't think that's the team that's built this way.
When it feels a lot like with the special, I mean, it really did hurt us the beginning of the season, right? Like we lost to Colorado on a goal line fumble, right? Like that's how we lost. And I think
that's right.
I started to bring that up, Matt. And what I've noticed is it feels like Spaff has learned what he can ask of this offensive line, and he's just having them only do that, I think they have. This is like a pure guess on my side, but it feels like he's sort of narrowed his expectations. Whereas maybe at the beginning of the years, he was asking them to do maybe some more complex things that this line just like isn't equipped to do, and it made our offense look like dog shit. I mean, it looks so bad.
Ask not what your offensive line can do for you, but what you can do for your offensive line.
Exactly.
Jake Spavital 2024.
That's right.
Another dog reference.
Write it on my shirt when we score.
Is that our tattoo bet? I mean, I don't know. Like, is that
Matt? We should do a tattoo bet. Let's decide it right now, Matt.
JB and I talked about it. Yeah.
I'm willing to hear you guys out on what this would be.
Would you like to know what Jamie has suggested?
Yes.
That is one of the scariest things anybody has ever asked me, but sure.
Jamie thinks that if TCU wins, you guys should both get script frog on your wrist, which I think is a little aggressive. On our wrist? I think it's a little aggressive. And that I should get Sailor Bear, but I can put mine somewhere that's not as visible. Like that was. And again,
I think you can get a cool one.
Cool.
So I think that's too high stakes.
Okay,
because we're friends. We're friends.
Yeah, we're friends. We're friends.
I think that's too high stakes. Nobody would enjoy that.
Frog script is so funny on our wrist, just like a little heart.
Ev, you know the frog mural in Austin?
Oh, I know the frog mural in Austin.
The little alien guy?
That's something I might be willing to put.
Okay.
Somewhere.
You see, I feel like I'm on a different page than you here, Matt. I would want to get something really hyper specific to this.
To this particular game?
I think the real estate of your inner lip is highly undervalued when it comes to tattoos.
Evan, I won't even kill you. My wife will kill you.
When's the last time your wife saw your inner lip?
Hey, listen.
I'm talking about where a tattoo
very
would go.
private conversation.
No. Here's what I'm asking, Matt. If you do this, when was the last time she saw this? When was the last time anyone saw that? I'm just saying it's safe. I would get frog script there way before I get it on my wrist. Way before.
And I could get sick of them?
Yeah.
Listen,
you guys both need.
I don't know if I can do it. That sounds really painful.
No,
it's
all
much of a
fatty
tattoo
tissue.
person
You just
I
hang
am.
out. You know what's funny? The reason I know this, I have a friend from Baylor. She got 6158 tattooed on her inner lip that weekend.
That's
how I know.
Insane. There's no way.
There's no way that's real.
I've talked about her before on our podcast.
You probably have.
You can crop her face out, but I'm gonna need a screenshot. Like,
okay, I'm gonna do a deep dive.
A 6158
Carter Rodman,
tattoo?
if you're listening, could you please send me that picture? I know you have it. I know you have it.
Wow, I just called her out. That is.
Well, we're gonna bleep her government name here. I don't think she would really like this very much.
I'd be willing to do the Austin Mural Frog. I'd be willing to do the
Austin Mural Frog. Okay, yeah. I like the Austin Mural Frog. Do I
but
still
how do you
go Sailor
connect
Bear?
that to us, Matt? You know, that's what I'm asking.
You would get a matching Austin Mural Frog to
just
commemorate the game, but also your time in Austin.
Oh, we are celebrating my time living in Austin. Okay.
I like
hey,
this.
I'm in.
Good.
I'm in. I'll get it on my leg. I'll do you one better. I'll get it on my leg.
Wow. You're going to go right to the leg. Okay.
Straight to the leg.
Sailor Bear versus Austin Mural Frog on this game Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Are you really willing to sign up for a Sailor Bear?
I mean,
That's
I don't
crazy.
really want to.
You're a crazy person.
I am.
I'd be willing.
Why would you get it?
To let you go with any bear iconography.
Could I go with the California Golden Bear?
No,
okay,
you can't do. Well, okay. I'm willing to accept that.
Okay.
No flag though.
This really is the Gary Patterson Bowl. Do y'all think about that? Winner gets custody of Gary. We get that statue. If we win, you got to bring that statue to
He
Waco.
already emancipated from us. He already emancipated.
He
from
did.
us.
Yeah,
I know, but he's still getting a W. He's still getting a W-9 at the end of the year.
He has an apartment, and it's just the mattress on the floor with the guitar.
Yeah, what do you think
next to
he's
it.
doing?
And
he was at TCU. He's at TCU all the time. He's been at TCU for almost every home game. Just
playing acoustic guitar in the quad.
Yeah, exactly.
Just hanging, flip flops on.
Like, I just can. Like, cause Art's been around, right? And so, like, could you imagine those two crossing each other in the concourse and what that'd be like?
Okay. If
I
that
wonder what that
happens at
energy would be
homecoming,
like.
I'd be okay with Art coming back.
Steel cage match.
If steel cage match in the very semi-pro-esque, like you throw them both in a cage and maybe a life bear too. I don't care. That's fine.
And a horned frog.
Well, actually,
and a horned frog.
You guys are probably more well versed with their interpersonal relationship. I wasn't fully tapped in at that point.
I think they legitimately hate each other.
I know for sure Gary hated Art. I wasn't really sure about how Art felt. Yeah, no.
You gotta give
Gary was early.
He was right. Gary was super early.
I've told Matt this before. There was an Our Daily Bears tweet from 2013 that was like, did Gary Patterson just insinuate that there's something going on in the locker room in Waco?
Yes. Oh, no.
Yes, Where does he be? And it was like a news cycle in the Baylor universe. And 12 months later?
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Gary's check is cleared over here with me for a while. I'll be honest with y'all.
For his flaws, he was dead right on that one.
He was. He really was. Matt, do you think that post is still live? I don't know how I would
begging
find
you
that.
not to go look it up. Okay. I will have it deleted before this is.
That's what you're gonna get tattooed on your.
Oh yes, just the hype. Just
worst.
A QR code leading to that post. Now we're cooking.
I hate both of you so much.
I'm telling you, we just got to chew on this a little bit.
I'm not doing any more chewing.
A Spotify code to the other team's fight song is on the table.
I like that one. That's real. That's really
You're really putting yourself in a box here, Matt.
I really like that idea. I do like a QR code to the most embarrassing tweet from Frogs of War or Our Daily Bears.
Oh yeah.
Go back
now
to the SB
cooking.
Nation days. This could get really ugly for both of us. I'm here for it.
I gotta sleep on this. I gotta sleep on this.
Hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put it out to the people.
Sheets.
With this post, I'm gonna on Twitter. Please respond to this post. I'll clip this little section here and tell us what is the worst acceptable, because that is important. We all have jobs, I think. Evan, right? Maybe.
I'm employed.
Just checking. I was, I know you have been at times.
Against all odds, I am employed.
But I do work with children, so we do need to keep it relatively appropriate. But I am game for, and like Jamie said, it's not that big of a deal for me because I have many tattoos. But I'm game for the people to weigh
I just got the one. I'm
Yeah,
1
that's
for
what I'm
1.
saying.
I'm batting
Yeah.
1,000.
This
It's
is
not, I
I've
don't
got
want to
people-
take the half court shot before the buzzer sounds.
See, Matt, I think you need to reframe this.
Okay.
I tell people one of my limbs, my right leg, reserved fully for silly tattoos. I've got the
That's not a
real
bad
estate
idea.
for this. You know.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
All right.
I like it.
Fair.
Not to get off the important part of this conversation, but both these teams now on 2-game winning streaks. Both of these teams feel like they're finding their identity. I think Baylor is a slight favorite. It looks like, I think the last I checked was a slight
It was
favorite.
6.
Is
Something
it
like
that?
That's
many?
surprising to me. I
That
would
feels-
have guessed maybe 4.
I will get the most recent
Okay,
number
we will vamp while you do so.
from an unnamed book.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think I've told you both before. The better team hasn't won this game in about a decade. It just hasn't happened. So I'm fearful. I'm fearful here, Matt.
It's not
because I
6.
do.
I was thinking of last week.
Is it 3.5?
Oh, what is
It
it now?
opened at 2, and it is now 3.
Okay. And
Yeah,
that
3
feels
feels right.
I think
feels
these are
right.
two teams trending the same. They've been trending the same direction all year, right? I think Baylor has lost to better teams than TCU has lost to. So I don't know if you like take the moral victory aspect into this, but these are two very similar teams that do some things really well, that struggle in other areas, but are capable of getting hot at the right time and kind of bowling you over. We saw you guys do that in Lubbock, and I mean, thank you, like, for really sending that team on a downward
I
spiral.
mean, anyone
when they
can
thought
beat
they could-
Joey.
Yeah. They really looked like Jamie said that he thought they were going to the Big 12 championship, and they have completely unraveled since. So thank you, Jamie, as well for that reverse.
They
jinx.
thought that too.
Yeah, and they had a pretty good path, but here they are sitting, I think, behind TCU and just one spot ahead of Baylor at this moment. So
Not for
how do you
long.
see? Not for long. How do you see Saturday playing out? Does Baylor hold serve, or is this another? I mean, we remember what happened the last time TCU was in Waco, but we also know they're celebrating one of the worst times that TCU was in Waco on Saturday night.
I think these teams are. This is going to be like if the 61-58 game was like Mario and Luigi, this is going to be like a Wario Waluigi type of game.
Okay,
like those,
I like it.
that amount of points can still happen on
Yeah.
this field, but for more of a lack of talent than of a presence of talent in specific places. Like I do think our running game at its best could put up a lot of points, but I also think your passing game very likely could do whatever the hell it wants all day, and that's what makes me scared here. What do you think, Matt?
Is Savion Williams really 6'5"?
Yeah,
He's a big guy.
that's a big dude. He's 6'5", and he's been clocked at over 22 miles per hour. Like
I mean,
Darius
that's a freight
Davis
train.
speed.
That is a
Darius
freight
Davis-
train.
I'm choosing not to believe that. I don't like that. It does not make me happy. And
I mean, did
therefore,
you see
I
him
will
run away
defend it.
from Tech? I mean, the dude, like, when he gets going full speed, he will run away from you, and it's shocking every time.
Mm-hmm.
I am, looking at this TCU roster, and I do see Muskogee, Oklahoma. I like that. That
Okay.
makes me happy.
Okay.
As someone who has kin that hails from Muskogee, like that.
You got to say
that-
kin
I'm
when
okay
you're
with
talking
that.
about Muskogee. Yeah.
But I see the Woodlands, South Lake,
There we go.
Danville, California.
Turn it up.
I don't know where Danville is.
Turn it up.
They know.
Danville is the South Lake of California.
Oh, Sugarland. I can't really talk too much shit about Sugarland. My wife's from Sugarland. And, I'm just like, names
Soft.
like, our leading receiver's name is Jack. And,
Hey,
like,
Homeboy's from Louisiana. He's built different.
let me cook.
Louisiana
here.
Jacks
let
are a
me, let me,
different
I,
breed.
This is
That's
the meanest
true.
I've been all evening. I actually got mad because you called out the discrepancy between the losses of the two teams and like quality of the loss. I
You
couldn't
wanted
even
that
call
one,
it out
didn't
because
you?
you called it out.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That was
I'm
upsetting to me.
self-healing.
I
here.
know that was upsetting to me.
So, Matt, I apologize. You're my guest, and I'm not being very good host.
This game is never fun to watch.
No.
Amen.
I predict the same for this weekend. I think the environment will be really, really good. It is a blackout game. It is in the evening. Baylor has not had a true night game in what feels like forever at home. I think the excitement is there. I know of multiple people coming in from out of state. I can't get a ticket right now. It is a game where this fan base truly has hope for the first time in a long time.
Mm-hmm. The vibes are the best they've been in a long time.
I know, for 2 years, truly 2 years. This is going to be an extremely close game, and what Baylor has showed me over the last 2 weeks, being able to respond, the same thing that TCU has shown me, like being able to respond, being down, having weird stuff go against them, and still pulling out a win. I think this is going to be a game that is decided by 3 points or less, maybe 4, right? But
I don't like this.
I think with the home field advantage being in Baylor's favor here, I think Baylor finally breaks the streak of however many years it's been now. I don't like it.
I think 5 in a row.
We don't need to think about the
last time was the Matt Rule field goal game.
Yeah. That triple overtime. Is that the last win? That triple overtime game in Fort Worth?
I'm nearly positive. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I don't feel good. Also, the weather might really be an issue here Saturday.
Oh, really?
Thunderstorms are predicted. I don't know what the timing of this storm is, but we are supposed to be getting some pretty bad weather coming through, and it's supposed to last through Saturday. So that could make things weird.
If it's
right now, it's saying late morning, early afternoon.
Okay.
Over by 4-ish.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, if it's raining,
you know about the Texas weather. It's consistent, predictable. So yeah. If it's raining, I think that gives an advantage to Baylor. Mm-hmm. But we've seen some crazy things happen in weird weather games between these two teams.
That 2015 game was one of the ugliest displays of football I have ever seen in my entire life.
2021, was another one. Wasn't that a really gross weather game?
Yeah.
Like last year or 2 years ago, the Bazooka on the Brazos, I had food poisoning and it was 30 degrees and I was literally could not feel my fingers and had to go to the press box once a quarter just to defrost.
Yeah,
that was also terrible. So nothing. I think Matt, I think you're right. This is going to be awful. It will be amazing and also not enjoyable whatsoever. Yeah. I'm hoping for some bad karma by them choosing to honor the 2014 team that beat TCU but did not win a bowl game. And I'm choosing to believe there will be a lot of CAB shirts in the stands because it's a blackout, and so I do think some of the fan base rolled that out. I think that's bad karma, and I'm willing to put bad karma on my side to help TCU get a win.
I don't know. I think you're right. I think the team with the Bryles on the sideline is really going to have some bad karma flowing through their side of the stadium.
Thank God, then we're playing in a toilet bowl. So just flush it right out to the Brazos. Yeah.
We got a big ass TV on the outside of it now, though.
Do you really?
We do. They put up a big old screen on the outside.
Oh, and they posted about it as if it was a big butt. I did not.
Yeah, they posted. They definitely posted
like
an
biggest
ass caption.
dumpy in the land or something. Way worse than that.
No, that's incredible.
Let me find that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you get a QR code to that tweet.
Oh, now that would be some good stuff.
That
what
would
did
be
they
some
say?
good stuff.
I have it.
Flat so back you can see
the largest backside display in the country with a eye emoji.
Backside. Yeah, they didn't think that one through. I don't think.
No, they knew what they were doing.
You think
they
so?
Knew what they were doing.
I don't know. Like, if they did, I credit Baylor's social media team because that's.
Well, we did win the butt bowl right before that, So
did win the butt bowl right
Victor spoils, things of that nature,
Things of that nature. Friends, as per always, an utter and absolute delight. I hate you both for making me a little bit less angry about Baylor, just in general.
We're sorry.
The Baylor Twitter community that I've cultivated for myself is pretty wonderful. So I guess every school does have its redeeming qualities. We're gonna hammer down this tattoo bet.
All right.
I'm 100% game. I'm not afraid of you. I'm terrified of this game, but I'm willing to put it all on the line. It's what we do around here at Frogs Insider. But most importantly, where can folks find your work?
Work.
Listeners, we'll tag our LinkedIn. We'll tag our LinkedIn below. You can find us.
Where? Okay, let me rephrase. Let me start this over. I'm going to back it up.
I have a dissertation I'd be happy to share with all of you.
I take back everything I just said.
I'm sorry. I'm
Roaster.
being rude. I'm so sorry. I'm
much.
sorry.
No, please be rude. Like, again, I would like to engender a little bit of hate and during Revivalry Week. Where can people find your nonsensical ramblings and general dysfunction?
Much better.
Okay, thank you.
Matt is Bear on Twitter is the best place to go. It's a very specific life choice, especially if you're not a Baylor, Rockets, or Texans fan. But we like to have fun. We make fun of the people that need to be made fun of, no matter what color they're wearing. So
Amen.
That's right. You can find me at Dale's Dad 12. My dog's name is Dale. I'm his dad. On Twitter. You see what I did? You get it?
Yeah.
Listener, you probably don't want to follow me. I only talk about what it's like to live in Chicago. That's kind of it. Hey, so if you're interested in that, join in.
Yeah, it's good. It's good things.
Hey, got a question. Is one of the lakes outside of Chicago, the border of that lake, is that a beach, Melissa? Would that be a beach?
Now think carefully.
No.
It would not be a beach.
No.
I rest my case. That's all I have to say. It's not a beach.
But I also would not count any bodies of water that touch edges of Texas as beaches either.
Uh-huh.
But
What is a beach? That's what I want to know. You tell me what a beach is, man.
A beach is a place, and again, coming from a Californian, is a place where you're not afraid to take off your shoes and wade into the water.
Well, you're just a pansy if you don't take them off in Galveston.
Wait, let me put. I'm gonna before we hang this up.
No, you can play him out. Just start your outro music. That's what I do every week.
I'm
just
telling
start
you.
your outro music as he's talking.
I've
Imagine
been to a Chicago beach, and it was cold. Not a beach.
I don't know. I swam in it. I drank. I was floating in it earlier this summer. And here's the good news. I'm sending you a picture of the worst part of the beach, and it's still really nice. It's instead of sand, it's concrete. But there is sandy beaches. I mean, there's true sandy beaches with like volleyball courts.
Backwards Baylor logic I've ever heard.
No.
Here's my nicest
telling
beach. It's not sand, it's concrete.
No, I said it was beach.
That is trying to say Waco is a really nice town in Texas.
Don't put that on Baylor.
Listen, we hang banners in Waco. All right, it's a great town.
We have to have something to hang the banners on. We can't hang them on sand. Now I'm on Evan's side for some reason.
How did that happen?
Get us out of here.
Yeah.
You're letting us ruin your day.
No, this is making my day legitimately. We're gonna do this again, Talk Hoops, at some point. Because that's been fine, and then we're gonna live stream the tattooing of whatever it ends up being. But for this moment, I'm gonna get my live reaction to the photo that Evan just sent, because again, this makes for great radio.
Now, do a thought exercise with me, okay? Look at this picture, and in your head, just imagine that I had just texted you and said, "Hey, I'm going to Miami. Are you familiar with this beach?" Now, like, keep that thought in your head while you look at this picture, and tell me if you would say, "Oh, that's not a beach. That doesn't look like a beach to me."
I would say that's definitely not Miami because it's above water. But it does look very nice. And Chicago is quite possibly my favorite big city in America. So
I think it is the greatest city in America.
I'm a big fan of Chicago. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Chicago. Next time I'm up there, we'll get together.
We'll get tattoos. The three of us will get tattoos.
Yes, this sounds like a great plan. I'm here for it. Can't wait.
I'm into it.
Do it together. We can all get the Austin Frog mural because it's a great. That is a great tattoo, an outstanding tattoo in Chicago of all things. Gentlemen, and I use the term loosely, thank you so much for joining. This was exactly what I thought it would be, and that's all I'll say about that. Thank you to everybody that tuned in to the Frogs Insider preview show. TCU-Baylor, Saturday night, 7 p.m., blackout game in Waco, honoring the 2014 team, ergo bringing back up 61-58 for potentially the last time. We for all three of us, on behalf of both of our shows, thank you, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, Republican Football Podcast Network. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be a part of that, especially because we get to do stuff like this. And thank you, as always, to the Flying T Club for their support, not just of the Frogs Insider podcast, but of TCU student athletes across the board. With that, go Frogs.
Take 'em Bears.
Take 'em Bears.
Take 'em Bears.
All right, a big thanks to Matt and Evan. Tattoo bet. Interesting indeed. Let's see. We'll see how the game goes. I'll be down there. covering the game for 24/7 Sports and HornFrogBlitz.com, and of course the Frogs Insider podcast presented by the Flying T Club. So we'll just see if the Frogs can make it 5 in a row, and I believe 4 in a row down in Waco ever since 61-58 happened. Quite a few wins for TCU down in Waco, but Baylor doesn't like to talk about those. Odd. Truly odd. All right, we got one more conversation before we let you go. This is a conversation that I've been hoping to have for quite a while. I'm very excited we finally made it work with our schedules. Ryan Peck has been on TCU's staff in the athletics department for about a year now. He is the Deputy Athletics Director for External Affairs and Revenue Generation. He is, by all accounts, the kind of second in command in the athletics department for TCU. He brings a host of knowledge and experience with him into this role. And we get into a little bit about his background, a little bit about his role at TCU, and then some of the things that he's involved in at TCU, which mainly is, like we talked about, revenue generation, but also NIL and the House versus NCAA settlement and what's coming up with revenue generation and how the scholarship numbers play into all of this. So a really informative and in-depth conversation with Ryan. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's really insightful, gives you a good little window into all of the complexities and all of the hard work that is going into making sure that TCU is set up to capitalize on this next era of college athletics. So let's jump into that conversation with Ryan Peck right now. Hey, Frog fans, welcome back to another episode of Frogs Insider presented by the Flying T Club. Jamie Plunkett here with a very special guest, Senior Deputy Athletics Director for External Affairs and Revenue Generation, Ryan Peck, my man. Thank you so much. Been trying to get you on the show. I'm glad it worked out. Congrats on your first year at TCU, man. How's everything going?
Jamie, well, thank you so much, and I appreciate your audience and the platform and all that you do for the Frog fans everywhere. And so excited to be with you today. But for me, in 1 year, it has been unbelievable, and I've enjoyed every single second of it. And there's two aspects that I wake up thinking about. It's one, first and foremost, always our student athletes, and two, our fans and alumni, and what we continue to do for them on a daily basis across all of our sports. But it's this place is special, and so I'm fortunate to be here, fortunate to be in purple, and loving my time in Fort Worth so far with my family.
And we're going to talk a lot about what you do for the university and how you're involved in NIL and all the scholarship decisions that are happening here in the near future. But first, I want to start a little bit of bio work with you, because I know that the TCU women's soccer team just won a Big 12 championship. You talked about all the things that you do for the student athletes, but people might not know that you yourself, soccer student athlete, 4-year athlete over there at Lander, man, how cool was it to be a student athlete, have that experience, and now be able to use that experience for today's student athletes and see a championship in the sport that you love at the university you work for, man?
Yeah, it's very special. And it's, I was that prototypical kid that just loved sports, and I think it was my parents' way of just getting all my energy out as a youth. And so played football, basketball, baseball growing up. Actually wrestled 4 years in high school too, but right. Wrestling or soccer for me was the one that kind of just excelled at a little bit. And so I made my college decision based on sports, and I wanted to go be at a good program. So Lander, not many people have heard of it. We were top 25. And I wanted to go to a spot that was, somewhat close to home for me in the Southeast, where my parents were at in Atlanta. And so was fortunate to have that opportunity. And so I look at what I do now and what I've done throughout my career, and I give credit to an individual named Gene T. McFerrin. And that's a donor who gave me a scholarship. And so it provided me an opportunity in this life of working in college sports that I am super grateful for. And I really haven't looked back. And so it's funny now because I'll keep a soccer ball in my office and maybe on Zoom calls every now and then, or I'll talk to a soccer student athlete that we're trying to recruit and tell how great this program is. And I always start by saying, I guarantee you are a much better soccer player than I ever was if they're being recruited to TCU than me being to Lander. But it's an administrative role. I don't, I love talking to coaches about game plan and strategy. And I do it with all of our coaches. It's not being critical. It's just me learning as a sports fan. But it's fun with the soccer coaches where I can relate it a little bit more, knowing at one point many years ago I was one of those guys on the field trying to implement that strategy as opposed to just dictating as the coaches do.
Man, you mentioned being in the room talking with coaches about game plan and strategy. I think the average fan has just a sliver of what actually goes into game planning, strategy, and scheme at this level, because you sit in a room with coaches, and as someone who's been around baseball and basketball and football my entire life, sitting down with those guys and having conversations, and it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're using a whole different language now.
Yeah.
It's very funny to see fans come out and say, man, they should have done this at this point or this at this point, because the hindsight is always 2020. But the amount of work and the amount of knowledge that that the coaches at this level have, and at TCU specifically have, is wildly impressive.
Well, and it's even fun too to sit with the coach, even watching a game that may not be one of our games, and watching maybe an NFL game when we're on the road or something like that. And just the way that they watch it is different. And, they can tell you what's about to happen, even though they've done no game planning. And so you just think about that their job is analyzing film and watching recruits and developing a game plan and the strategy and the counter strategy to provide that advantage to help us win. We all think it's pretty easy, but it's a skill and a craft to be able to identify those and develop a consistent winning strategy week after week. And so we're fortunate here that we have an elite group of coaches that do a great job. And so anytime I get to just pick their brain, I love to do it, because their level of expertise is so high.
You talked about honing your craft and having an expertise. You've done that as well for yourself. You spent time at Chattanooga as the director of marketing and promotions, moved on to Denver as the AVC for external affairs, and then most recently before TCU, the associate vice president and chief revenue officer at University of North Texas. How have those experiences built up your understanding of what it means to run an athletics department and be successful at the Division I level?
Yeah. So, it's funny for me, because everyone in this industry, their path is different. And I'm the individual that pours myself into the job, and I am head down trying to make it the biggest and best that it can possibly be. And so each one of those stops, I have these record-setting moments or these opportunities that I'm proud to be a very, very small part of. And then I get to a spot like TCU that has, been to College World Series and has won multiple championships and been in the CFP. And it's like, all right, what does that next look like? And so, I think a lot of it for me, and it goes back to my experiences. I've touched every area of the revenue generation side of it, but doing it in a way as we need to grow those revenue streams, as we need to extend our brand, as we need to improve our social engagement. What does that mean for TCU? What does that look like? And how can we do it in the right way? And so I pull from each of my stops and experiences, and there are things that have worked well, but they won't necessarily work here because it worked at XYZ. But, for me, it's funny. I've always been in bigger media markets where it's no offense to a Starkville, Mississippi or a Statesboro, Georgia, but this is kind of my mindset and savvy when it comes to media buying or social reach. I look at it a little bit differently. Just that's where my path has taken me. So I think about it. All those steps throughout my career have allowed me this opportunity, and I definitely don't take it for granted. But a lot of people think, and even my mom's like, "Oh yeah, you just go and watch sports." But my 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's the business, it's the savviness, it's the branding, it's things that we're working on with headlines or articles or impressions. I mean, the wording and all that stuff. That's kind of where I spend my day to day, where I treat it as a business, but it happens to be in a basketball arena next to an amazing football stadium on a college campus. And so thinking about it, how do we run and operate it in the best interests of our student athletes and our fans? And I'm grateful for that opportunity all the time.
My wife calls it sports work as opposed to work. So I hear what you're saying there, man. So you've been at TCU for just about a year now. What's something you know about TCU now that you didn't know before you took the job?
Yeah, it's I am still drinking the purple Kool-Aid, and
right.
In this era of college athletics, in this era of change and uncertainty, we have a university that wants to compete at the highest level and continue to do that because they've seen the success, they tasted the success. And so I put that pressure on me daily to figure out the strategy so that if I'm being honest, that, the TV contract for the SEC and the Big Ten are substantially more, and that's a disadvantage for us. And so what are those strategies that we need to put in place to overcome one revenue shortfall there, or the uniqueness of our alumni size being one of the smaller Power Four universities that, we don't have 500,000 alumni. And so, people would say, oh, you just build a, 100,000 seat stadium and fill it up and there's a huge revenue boost. Well, no, I said, I don't want to touch Amon G. Carter because it's the perfect size for us. And Schollmeyer Arena, are there things that I would do differently and tweak and adjust? Absolutely. I think there's always ways that we can improve the fan experience. And I think the fan experience evolves. And so, I walk around these facilities, I walk around our student athletes, I walk around our campus, and I continue to be impressed. And it just pushes me to work harder day in, day out.
Speaking of facilities, are you going to be one of the first people in that snow room when it opens up?
It's funny. Jeremiah and I were doing the walkthrough the other day, a little hard hat tour, and he hopped in it and he's standing right there, and he's like, "This is going to be my little snowman, right here to the side." But it'll be a neat asset. And when I talk to recruits, I'm like, I need you to picture a student athlete spa, because it'll make you feel good. It'll help your muscles. It'll help provide mental clarity. Like, it'll have these features that'll be pretty awesome. So it's coming along, and I can't wait for that one to be finished.
Facilities used to be the thing that was the attraction, right? Like, that was the thing that the university would invest in as a differentiator between it and its competitors, to say, hey, you would rather come play for TCU because we have the best locker rooms, the best recovery facilities, the best stadium with the best fans. But it seems like college athletics is starting to shift away from facilities to rev sharing, NIL, and how we can compensate student athletes appropriately. I know that while the financial investment in facilities is still really good and important, and TCU is going to continue to do that, tell me a little bit about the conversations that are being had on the rev sharing and the NIL side from a TCU perspective, because we know some of the stuff that Jeremiah has said publicly about participating to the maximum level. But what goes into participating at the maximum level like TCU wants to do?
Yeah, well, great question, because as I mentioned to you, we're meeting daily and thinking about it constantly as to what this next iteration of college athletics look like. I joke, there's a coach, it wasn't one of ours, it was in the industry, that said, my kids would get dressed in a trash can if you're giving them, a 6-figure NIL payment right now. They don't care. But to your point, it's evolved. And so where I'm coming at it from, and where we think about it is, if we're competing for a kid based on dollars alone, that's probably not the right kid that we want to be coming to TCU. And so all these things are important, in the environment, in the city, the location, the academics, the education. That's the old amateur student athlete in me, that those are very, very important factors, especially of the TCU experience. And so, but on the flip side, to compete at the highest level, we need to be able to build out our plan and strategy for what that looks like. And so I've kind of put it into two buckets. As the revenue sharing comes in house, that's, the old term would be the pay for play. That's kind of your amount above and beyond your scholarship that you're going to be able to earn and pocket that, and monetize your skill set in a way, because you're going to be representing TCU. But secondly, how do we get to true commercialized NIL and brand ambassadors and people that can showcase their brand out in public and align with the company in a way that can make them a marketer that helps drive dollars back to that business. And so the good news is we have some ideas and concepts that we're running out these theories as to what makes the most sense and how we do it. The bad news is nobody knows right now. We're still waiting on a lawsuit, and we're building the plan while we fly a little bit. And so, and we're running up to a deadline. Come April 7th, we have a preliminary agreement on the House versus NCAA settlement, but come April 7th, that's expected to be finalized. And so collectives, as we know it, are shifting how they're going to be operating, and revenue sharing will as of today, we joke as of today at this time, because it could change, in a week or two, but come April 7th and July 1, that we'll be in a revenue sharing model for the Power Four conferences and beyond. So it's a wild time, because the the aspect of how we operate is having to evolve. And so we're going through a great commercialization. There's lots of lawyers involved. There's a lot of money involved. I mean, that's a $2 billion settlement, that class action lawsuit that is going to drastically change what or how college athletics operates. And so I still get optimistic when college football Saturday and you got fans are loving the atmosphere and the tailgating, or a buzzer beater in basketball and packed arenas, because at the end of the day, I don't want what the passion and the pageantry that makes college athletics so great to ever go away. And so it's I want game winning home runs, walk-off home runs, and all those things that we love, that our students rally around, that our campus and community rally around. And so that's why we're working so hard daily, so that we can figure out and keep the core front and center for all the fans across the world.
So you mentioned that there's an opportunity for legitimate name, image, and likeness, not the pay-for-play. What does that look like in-house? Do you have local companies, national companies that you're having conversations with now to say, hey, when we get all of this formalized, when the settlement is formalized, we'd love to connect our student athletes with, X dealership, or, Raising Cane's is a popular one in Fort Worth, right? Or are those partnerships going to work through the university as well, or will that still be third party?
Yeah, great questions. We're still figuring it out, but part of it, you think about it as a corporation here locally, and I put it into a couple of different buckets, but it needs to make sense for your corporate marketing plan, and in a way that aligns with your values and your business. And what that looks like and how that looks like is still to be determined. But I think the key part of it moving forward is, the value is based on fair market value. And so there'll be some aspects to that, and some different enforcement agencies that kind of track that and see what that fair market value is, because right now there hasn't been that type of checks and balances for these type of NIL deals. But that is a big point in these settlement in this lawsuit, is it needs to be fair market value. So Raising Cane's, for example, and as I've thought about this and had some conversations, a local partnership with the marketing manager in Fort Worth or DFW has a value to it. A national partnership with the Raising Cane's has a completely different, higher value to it. And where do TCU student athletes fit into that? And so, I think a perfect example right now is you look at Haley Van Lith, who is a on her own, her brand, her name, her, a Olympic medalist. She has a significant national reach and value. And there's a lot of athletes that you got your Shador Sanders, your Caitlin Clarks that you see constantly right now on national ads, but that's not for all 550 of our student athletes. And so what does it look like locally, or where do those align, or where does it make sense? And that's something that our student athletes, we're one of the first as we talk about building their brand and working with Neely and the NIL suite. And how much do you want to spend doing that? And it can be treated as an internship, and you could have some, social media marketing experience and brand ambassador building opportunities if you do it the right way while you're competing in your sport. And so as we kind of get to this next phase of an in-house, I'm looking at a lot of different ideas and concepts that ultimately make the most sense for one, our business and corporate environment, especially being in Fort Worth, and two, what makes sense for the student athletes as well.
There's another aspect to this as well that I think is equally important, and that's scholarships, because of the new scholarship limits that are being set by this settlement and the challenges that's going to present for universities. Because it's my understanding that the 21, 22 million, whatever the bucket ends up being, is for both rev sharing and for additional scholarships. So you couldn't have someone come in and say, I'd love to give $1 million to baseball or beach volleyball to sponsor scholarships, because it has to come from that bucket. Is that a correct understanding of where it's headed? And
there are a lot of nuances to it, but and I think the scholarship piece specifically, we're still held to Title IX federal guidelines. And so, and we may even be on the revenue sharing piece too. There's so many aspects of this that are still kind of uncertain. And so as you think about it, I mean, some schools are, they've come out publicly and said, hey, we're going to, every opportunity that we're allowed on the roster limit, we're going to fully fund that scholarship, to the maximum ability. And, but that's, you're talking anywhere between $30 and $50 million annually that's added before the $20 million rev share. So it is, it's a big number. And, we have a responsibility to the institution to be good stewards of our resources and financially, do what's right. And, you could argue either side of it, but I think to say, hey, we're going to spend an additional $50 million annually, on scholarships plus additional 20, that's a big number for any university and any athletic department. And so, that's what we're kind of looking at it for us. And how do we, one, increase opportunities for our students and our student athletes and make sure we still meet our federal Title IX compliance, but doing what's in the best interest of TCU and the best interest of the future of our university. So that's part of the challenge, where every university is different and different mix of sports and different financial wherewithal top to bottom. And so it's a little bit of a game as to how, everyone's going to be doing it. And I think about, all right, how can we continue to compete at the highest level, win championships, and graduate student athletes, and what does that look like for each one of our programs?
Well, it's a worthwhile challenge, that's for sure.
It is.
Just a couple more questions for you, Ryan, as we kind of wrap here. You talk, part of your role, and you've already talked about it a little bit, is revenue generation. When you look at the current landscape, and like you said, the Big Ten and the SEC are the front runners when it comes to what they're getting from their media deals. What are the realistic options that are out there right now to help close that gap for a Big 12 or an ACC school?
Yeah. There's, I don't think anybody has that one magic bullet. And, it's because it was made public, I used the example of Tennessee. They said they're going to add a 10% talent fee, onto every season ticket. That's going to help directly fund their revenue sharing, their NIL, or whatever they want to do. Could we do that? Sure. But is that the path that I want to go down? Not right now, not today. It doesn't make sense for our fan base. And so the way I look at it is how can we get a little more sophisticated in how we operate? And it's going to be some stair-step approach where, because I don't have a $20 million level we can push, but I also want to do it the right way, in the TCU way. And so, they've talked about jersey sponsorship, field sponsorship, but for us, I want it, if we go down that route, I want it to be the right brand that aligns with this university and aligns with Fort Worth. And so, so you think about, the sponsorship, the MMR side, and where that industry is going and what that looks like. I think about it from, a season ticket approach of how can we continue to get more purple in our stands on a regular basis. And so how can I get a little more creative with packages? And so, when I meet with our leadership team and we talk about tickets and just as this one one revenue source, it's not how can I generate the most revenue possible. It's how can I create the most competitive advantage inside all of our home venues for our 6 ticketed sports. And that's my number one priority. That's the North Star. And so, are there ways to do it? And sometimes do I have to sacrifice, like a football game this past weekend where I don't want any red in the building at all and not make some tickets available? I will absolutely do that because I want to give our student athletes and coaches a home field, home court advantage, and I want us to win games at home. And so that's where I'm leading the charge as we think about what's new and what the future looks like. And but there's a lot of things that we can do top to bottom that I feel can help us financially.
Well, if you're ever interested in the Frogs Insider basketball court, I got like $100 to put towards that.
We could find a little something.
Hey, let's do it. All right, yeah, one seat or something, half an armrest or something. But all right, last thing, we've got a pretty rabid TCU audience over here at Frogs Insider, and I think they'd love to hear from you. This last item, where or how is TCU best prepared to capitalize on what just all of the things, all of the complexities? Just kind of call it what's next in college athletics. How is TCU best positioned to capitalize on all of that?
Yeah, well, with your rabid fan base and your the folks that listen, and I think you all are well aware of what TCU has done, and also thinking about where we can continue to go. And so I give our university leadership as here pretty soon we're going to be rolling out to kind of the new university strategic plan, and we look at athletics as a core pillar to that. And so in an era of change, in an era where ADs are trying to figure out how do we get through, this place is leaning in, and that's because of the people that have come long before me, long before us, and how this place was built, but trying to think about what the future looks like. And so that gets me excited, because it's an opportunity where we can really kind of lean into the nuances of this business and say, all right, what makes sense and where do we fit in? So I go back to some of those things that we talked about of a passionate fan base, our location, the league right now, top to bottom, and what can we do? How can we continue to win championships and get us, more and more visibility and grow our brand? I joke now, I don't just want to grow it in the state or in the country. How do we grow it in the world? And I think you hear Commissioner Yormark talk about, some of these international games, and I think about the president going over to the Olympics this year, and people aren't saying what's TCU, they're saying go Frogs, and showing it. And that's kind of where my mindset is I want to continue to, harness all the greatness of this place and do it on the most visible stage possible for years to come. So whether it's podcasts and conversations that anyone across the world can listen to our games on linear television, or where does the future of streaming go so that a parent in Germany can watch their son or daughter compete in an Olympic sport, all those aspects that I want to improve for the betterment of our sport that will ultimately help our university and help the degree on your wall be worth more for those non-student athletes and fans. So it's so that's what we think about in this era of change and NIL. It's all right. What can we lean in hard for TCU that can help us continue at the highest level?
Folks, that's Ryan Peck, Senior Deputy Athletics Director for External Affairs and Revenue Generation. Ryan, thanks so much for taking the time today, man.
Hey, appreciate you. Always enjoy our conversation. So thanks so much. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs. Very thankful again for Ryan's participation, for him taking time out of what is an insane day every day for him. Just meetings abound for Ryan. So thankful for him taking some time out to have that conversation. If you have a chance, send him a little note. Tag him on socials. Just tell him that you listened to the episode and tell him thank you for his time, because it really, truly was an incredible conversation from my point of view. And that's going to do it for this episode of Frogs Insider. Thank you for hanging in there for a long one. That's what she said. Anyways, if you're still listening and you heard that joke, tag me on Twitter, and we will talk to you next time after the Baylor game. Go Frogs.